How's it going, everyone? In this video, I am going to show you how to apply some of the techniques and some of the logic that you would have learned in your statistics class or in your data science class to simple stuff like shopping on Amazon. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go over any programming language or any complex formulas or anything like that. I just think that a lot of people need to understand the basics of how to think like an analyst, how to probe deeper, how to take what information is in front of you and get some deeper insights into it. So this is a real-time event that's actually happening to me. So I grew some tomatoes in my backyard recently, and I am shopping for a food mill so that after I'm done roasting the tomatoes, I can sort of just press them through it and get the sauce out and save the skins. I've got a whole bunch of options of food mills to choose from here. And I'm kind of cheap, so I'm unwilling to spend over $100. So the first principle of thinking like an analyst is filtering your data, is saying, what is the limit of what I am trying to select? I only want entries that are of a particular criteria. In this case, it is price. So my maximum price is going to be $100. So already you need to, when you're shopping on Amazon and you want to know how to shop more effectively, start by selecting your max price so that you don't have this frustrating experience of having to sift through entries that are just out of your price range and just frustrating yourself and possibly challenging your self-esteem in the process. So we've already applied our first analytical tool that's filtering the data. We just made sure that none of these entries are going to be over $100. Now, we still have a lot of information to choose from. Look, for example, here. This is a 4-star rating. This has no rating. This is a 4.5-star rating. And we have all of these different items that have all these different ratings. Here's a 3-star rating. I don't know if I'd want to purchase that because already that sort of concerns me. So the next thing we apply, more filtering techniques. So for example, if you only want highly rated products, here we go. Filter by rating as well. Now, of course, this is kind of basic stuff. We're going to get a little bit deeper into these insights here and see truly how you should think on that. We have filtered out as much as I think is necessary. We filtered by price and by rating. The next thing, now we're going to get a little deeper into this, is looking at sample size. Now, sample size is an important concept that a lot of people don't quite understand. So I'm going to give you sort of a basic understanding of why sample size is important. Let's say that I am responsible for going to Baltimore, Maryland, and running an opinion poll on how do the people of Baltimore think of this new law that passed, or what do the people of Baltimore think should happen to this park or something like that. If I only went to Baltimore and asked 3 people and said, 2 out of 3 people in Baltimore believe this, that, and the other, I'm obviously not having enough information to draw that conclusion. I could have asked 3 people, and that sample size is not large enough. But if I asked 300 people, that's a little better. If I asked 3,000 people, now you're really talking. Now that's a lot of information. So that's sort of the way of thinking about it. Do you have enough information to say that the opinions expressed here are truly representative of the sample? Look what's going on here, or generally representative of the population. Here we have 3,632 people have rated this item. So here, this 4.5-star rating represents the opinion of over 3,000 people. That's a pretty strong sample size. Here, this is the opinion of 857 people. That's still, a large sample, but not as big as this. I would find this rating to be more reliable than this one because more people have bought this product, taken it home, had the experience, and understood what the product's about. But look over here. Only 77 reviews, less than 100 people. So that's a product that is not well known in the market. So there's a lot of risk for me of just trusting the opinion of those people. But it gets worse. Let's see if I can find right here. We have a 4-star rating. Your knee-jerk reaction might be to say, oh, that's great. But look, it's a 4-star rating with only 8 opinions, meaning this is a fairly unknown product. In my view, the less of a sample size you have, the higher risk it is to buy that product. I'd feel a lot safer with this 4.5-star rating up here with 536 people than I would this 4-star rating that only has 8 people. So I would highly advise that you avoid trusting extremely small sample sizes. they could be extremely biased, and it could just be a handful of people who didn't really look at it that closely. Now, that's the first sort of deeper analytical approach, is look at the sample size. Now, the second thing you're going to want to consider is also looking at how the star ratings are distributed. The star rating up here is an average. So they take all of the different amounts of these, how many 5-star, how many 4-star, how many 3-star, how many 2-star, how many 1-star. They add them all up, and then they divide them by the number of categories there are, right? You know, because there's only 5 categories. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 stars. That's how they get this. It is possible, for example, to have a 4-star rating by just having a whole bunch of 5-star and a whole bunch of 1 and 2-star, not very much in the way of 3 or 4. So because of that, I just want to make sure you understand, it makes a lot more sense when you see something like this, where it cascades down. The highest category is 5-star. Second highest is 4-star. Let me see if I can find a situation where you probably shouldn't trust it, where it's not as regular, because these tend to be right skewed, which is what you want to see. Let's see if I can find an example here. Just give me one moment. So again, I'm just going through these. I'm looking for one. Okay, look at this right here. This is actually a great example. We have the same amount of 1-star as we do 4-star. So the amount of people who thought the product was acceptable is equal to the amount of people that absolutely hated the product. So if you didn't look very deeply into this, if you just said, oh, it's 4 stars, we're good to go. No, look a little deeper. How big is the 1-star proportion? If this 1-star proportion is a high percentage of the overall rating, then that means you had a few people that really loved the product and a lot of people that thought it was garbage. And you would probably want to avoid that. So I'm looking for where the second highest rating is actually the 4-star category. I am not looking for one where the amount of 1 stars is competitive with the amount of 4 stars. Look at this. See, we have 123 ratings here. And if you look right here, we see that the second highest is a tie between 4-star and 1-star. That means you could argue that the second highest is the people that hated it. You should not trust that product. I would not buy that product. But look here, we only have 2 sample sizes. You really can't trust that rating. But I think that's enough for you guys to get the idea. Now, looking at this product here, we see that the overwhelming majority of people loved the product. And we see that the smallest rating is actually the 2-star. But we see more 1-star ratings than we do 2-star ratings, which means there were a fair number of people who had a problem with the product, but not nearly enough to matter. The overwhelming consensus was that it's a good product. Because if you aggregate it, if you say, hey, how many people gave it 4 stars and above, you see that 77 people, 64 plus 13, 77 people thought this was at least an acceptable product. So that would be a product I would strongly consider buying. I'm going to show you how to do further analysis on this later on, but that's just the basic principle. So I think you guys have the idea. Set your max price. Exclude all of the ones that are below a 4-star rating by going up here and clicking 4-star and up. And then from there, look at how many ratings there are. You at least, I would say a good number is at least 1,000. And that's just my personal opinion. You can set what you think is an acceptable number. Look at the amount of ratings. And then from there, look at what the second highest rating is. If the second highest rating is a 2-star or a 1-star, you should probably stay away from that product. So I hope this gives you guys some helpful insight into how to shop on Amazon analytically. Now let's go back up and look at a few of these entries a little bit closer. Let's look at this Excel still food meal. Let's actually go into it here. So we see it as 536 ratings. You know, that's not as many as I would like, but that's still a high number. Some people might call that acceptable. We go down and we actually go all the way to the bottom. You know, we ignore all this and look at the actual reviews themselves. We can see so far this is great. The majority of people gave it 5 stars, and the second highest amount is 4 stars. If you were to aggregate these two together, that means that 84% of the people gave it 4 stars and above. So 84% of the people loved this product. We're nearly there. This is something I might consider buying. Then what you might consider doing is looking at the absolute worst review, so you can determine whether or not the product's absolute worst possible outcome is something you're willing to tolerate. Look at this worst. This is the worst review here. This person gave it a 1 star. JD has said that metal filings ended up in his food and that he doesn't think it's safe to use. It might just be his. He says mine may just be defective. You see, this guy right here, whoever he is thinking like a statistician. You see, whenever you have a data set, whenever you have a collection of something, there is always something called an outlier. The outlier are sort of the freak accident, the exception, the one time something doesn't go as planned and it's completely by chance, it's random, there's no particular cause to it all the time. Sometimes there may be a cause. So that's an outlier. You're buying a product and you just happen to get one that didn't work right. Maybe the guy at the factory who was putting it together was having an off day that day and he forgot a screw. Or maybe for some reason there was a short in the wire of one of the computers that does the 3D printing and something came out defective. There could be any number of reasons why one particular batch of something fails. So to determine whether or not these outliers are a trend that you need to worry about, I have one more step that I would recommend that you follow when shopping on Amazon to help you get deeper insight into it. You see this little option here where you can sort the reviews. Sort them by most recent. When you sort them by most recent, you can determine if that production problem with this item was a freak accident in a previous batch that already got resolved and the new ones are okay. Like, for example, you might think of Hondas. If I were to get a Honda Odyssey minivan and I were to get it, a 2004 Honda Odyssey, I might have a problem with my transmission. Oh, but I got the 2008 Honda Odyssey. The transmissions are fine on that one because by the time they got around to 2008, they fixed that problem, so the new model is great. Or something of that nature. So we sort it by most recent. And right now it is August 19th. So this is only 8 days ago. 8 days ago, this person bought it and they're reporting a problem. Last month, a person's reporting a problem. Again, the 3 most recent reviews are rating it very low. What that indicates to me is that this product has a batch problem that has not yet been resolved. So my conclusion would be to avoid purchasing this product, despite the fact that it has a high number of ratings, despite the fact that 84% of the people rate it highly, despite the fact that it is a fairly inexpensive product. Because again, how much was this item? It was only $23. So those are ways that you could think how to look deeply at it. So first, put your price filter. Second, put your star rating filter. I recommend buying nothing below 4 stars anyway. Second, look at the sample size of how many people reviewed it. Then third, look at how many people gave it above 4 stars. Look at what the second highest star rating is, and then look at what the most recent reviews are. So these are just some ways of deeply looking into the data. Now let me see if I can find you an example of one which I would personally consider purchasing. Obviously not this. This is trash and I'm not going to buy it. I'm sorry if you're the company that puts it out, but I'm going to stay away from that and you probably need to do a better job. So here, we have 3,632 reviews. Now, we have a very beautiful distribution of scores or ratings here. We have the overwhelming, over 70% gave it a 5-star rating. And the next highest is 4 stars. So this logically progresses downward, and that makes a lot of sense. So let's actually click on the item itself. Again, is that enough to sell me on this product? No, not necessarily. So let me look a little deeper and let me look at what the most recent reviews are on the product to determine whether or not I think it is worth it to purchase this. So I'm going to go down and rate it by most recent to determine if I have any recent batch problems. You see, this is a very negative review here. It says that they bought it to make baby food, and again, metal shavings are getting into the food or something of that nature. If I'm making this for my children, I'm not going to want that to be a problem. So, this would turn me off if this is the most recent review. So let's sort it by most recent. Positive review this year. Positive review this year. Whoops, we have a negative review this year. So the problem that this person is mentioning, we have to look at what the problem is it did not cut. So they have a problem with the holes. Again, that's this year. Again, another problem this year. But we have so many positive reviews this year. So I would possibly consider purchasing this, or I would keep on looking. But either way, you have some deeper insight into how to effectively shop on Amazon and how to think like an analyst. Don't just take things on face value. Look deeper, my friends. Have a great day.